greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said.
Hello everyone, No One of Consequence here, back again with a new video. This is episode 28 in a series which recounts my ongoing Dungeons & Dragons campaign, which is now in its 9th year. If you enjoy this video, please remember to hit the like button at the end. So, as a reminder, this is the current makeup of the adventuring party. One thing I forgot to mention last time is that when the characters finish the Temple of Elemental Evil module, they all advance to 7th level, and so that's what's reflected here. And also, where we left off last time, the characters were briefing the village council in the village of Hamlet on everything that had happened. And that's what this screenshot shows. So after that, they were back at the inn trying to decide where they should go or what they should do next. And I already had that answer for them, of course, because if you remember a few episodes back, they rescued Prince Thrommel from the temple. And when he left to return home, he said that they would be hearing from him. And so the module here, there's a little text block from that section in the module that says that his rescuers are sought out by a strong party. And it describes it there several weeks later. And they asked the characters to accompany them back to Mitric, the chief city of Valuna, where Prince Thrommel is getting married. And so I didn't have a large party escort them back. I didn't really see the point, but I did have a couple of knights arrive and deliver to the characters a invitation from Prince Thrommel to his wedding, and you can read the details there. And there at the bottom it says also that Prince Thrommel's father, King Belvor Furiandi, wanted to more fully reward and thank the characters for what they had done. And so these people did not escort the characters back. They said they had to continue on and deliver other invitations. But the characters knew where they needed to go, and here's a zoomed out view of the central area of the world of Greyhawk, and you can see it's quite a distance. The characters at the village of Hamlet down there in the lower right hand corner, and they were going to have to travel all the way up here to the city of Mitric in the upper left-hand corner, and I roughly estimated the distance to be between 600 and 700 miles. So the if they were going to get there in time, they needed to set out almost right away. So as you can see on here on this map, the characters traveled from Hamlet to the city of Verbobonk, and then from there they headed west towards Valuna. And eventually they arrived at the city of Davarnish. And actually they had been to Davarnish before, way back in the very early episodes of the series. That was the nearest major city to where they were based out of, in the village of Valerial. And I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be pronounced. That's how I pronounced it, but it's marked there on the map. So from the city of Davarnish, they continued on along the Great Western Road, as it's shown there on the map, and eventually arrived at Valuna City. And then from Valuna City, they continued along the Great Western Road and eventually arrived at the city of Mitric. And I calculated that just based on rough daily travel rates, it would take them almost a month to get there. And I kind of hand waved the whole journey because I didn't want to get bogged down. I wanted to move things along. So it just took up time on the calendar, but it was otherwise uneventful. And so the city of Mitric, and that's depicted here on this map, which I found online. Credit down there in the bottom right hand corner. Um, what do we know about the city of Mitric and Valuna in general? Well, the earliest products, the World of Greyhawk Folio and then the box set, which are first edition products, really all they say is when they, for the entry of the Archclerisy of Valuna, is it's ruled by a 19th level cleric. And so Valuna is a theocracy, basically. And then a couple of second edition products go into a little more detail. We find out that the ruler's name is Hazen. You can see all of his titles there, and it says that he is a priest of Rau. That's how I pronounce it again. I'm not sure how. But he's a high priest of Rau. And so here's his information here, a 19th level cleric, and that picture there is just one I found online. It's an actual historical portrait, but I thought it would be a good illustration of how I imagine he would look. The only thing I didn't really like is I would have preferred that he was a follower of Saint Cuthbert, and I think it would fit better into my campaign. The priest with the party is a priestess of Saint Cuthbert, and Saint Cuthbert himself even makes an appearance in the Temple of Elemental Evil module. So I wanted to make that change, and searching around online for any ramifications of that, I found people talking about what I show here, both in the original module T1, Village of Hamlet, and then the temple, which incorporates T1. Both of them for the keyed entry for the Church of St. Cuthbert in the village. It says it was raised by the Viscount of Verbabank in honor of aid rendered to him by the Archcleric of Valuna. And so the question there is, if the Archcleric of Valuna is a priest of Rao, then why would a church dedicated or raised in his honor be dedicated to St. Cuthbert? And so once again, Gygax himself gives us the answer, and this is another part of that Q&A that I've referenced before in Earth Journal issue 12. And here you can read it yourself, and Gygax says that originally the Archcleric of Valuna was a follower of St. Cuthbert and not Rao, and that change didn't come until 2nd edition. So that answers that question, and so I had no problem with just changing it back to make Hazen a priest of St. Cuthbert. So again, back to the city of Mitric. The characters arrived there, and it was a couple of days before the wedding. So they had time to rest and recuperate from their month-long travel, and they purchased clothes for themselves that they thought would be appropriate for a royal wedding. And they wouldn't really play that out much. It was kind of a hand wave, but they did all those things. So the characters went to the entrance of the cathedral, and they were met by a clergy member who said he was waiting for them and that he would escort them to their seats at the wedding ceremony. So the characters got in there, and they were surprised to find that they had seats at the very front for the ceremony, and there was various other nobility seated behind them, and then on either side there, on the north side, were the representatives of Valuna, and then on the south side, from Furiandi and So the wedding of Prince Thrommel and Lady Jolene took place. I didn't really drag it out or make a big production of it. I just basically said the characters were there to witness the ceremony, and everything went smoothly. And that's what's shown here. And then after the wedding ceremony, King Belvoir, Prince Thrommel's father, called the characters up, and he introduced them to all of the guests as the people who rescued Prince Thrommel from the temple and thus made all of this possible. And here's a little information about King Belvoir taken from those products I depicted earlier. As you can see there, he's a 14th level paladin, and some other information about him. And again, going back to the temple module, it says that not only will the characters be invited to Prince Thromel's wedding, but then you can read on and it says that at the ceremony, each character is knighted if a fighter or made an elder of the land for all other classes. And that afterwards, all the characters are entitled to wear these badges of nobility for both Veluna and Furiandi. And so that is great. I like that. The only problem was it seemed, like it says, fighters receive a knighthood, but it seems like everyone else just gets a participation trophy. And so I thought, how can I make it a little more interesting and memorable for the characters, no matter what their classes are. And so what I came up with, I'll show here. Just like the module says, all fighters are knighted, except I'm playing BX, so racist class, and so I decided that all fighter types, which would be fighters, dwarves, elves, and halflings, are all knighted. And thereafter, their title would be Sir if male or Dame if female. And then clerics would be given the title of Lord Bishop or Lady Bishop. And you can see their terms of address there. Magic users would be given the title of Patrician. And you can see their forms of address there. And then finally, thieves, and those are a little more difficult, just based on the nature of thieves, trying to find something appropriate for them. But what I settled on, as you can see, is their title is Gentleman at Arms or Lady at Arms, and their proper titles depicted there as well. So I'm not saying, this is the only way or the right way or whatever. This is just what I came up with, and if you DM this module, you may come up with something else. So at any rate, King Belvoir conferred all these titles of nobility on the characters and presented them to the assembled guests, and so of course everyone cheered and recognize their appreciation for these heroes of the land. And about that time, there was a disturbance, and a halfling was brought in, and he was accused of proclaiming himself a god outside on the steps of the cathedral and inviting onlookers to join his church. And so, again, Veluna being a theocracy, Hazen there commanded that this halfling would be put in prison and held until he can be tried, and if he was deemed insane, which he appeared to be, then he would be kept locked up indefinitely, but if not, then he would be executed for a heresy. And as you might have recognized, if you remember that far back, this halfling is actually Gorbadoc, the halfling who was with the party early on, and while they were in the middle of the temple, he left, and as a reminder, here's the note that he left behind for the other characters. I'm not going to read it all out, but you can pause the video and read it if you want. But he says in that note that he is a god and he's going off to recruit new followers for his church. So the owning player took Gorbadoc out of the game, but he was the one who was running the Sergeant Major, and you probably remember him from previous episodes. But not long after Gorbadoc left, the player for the Sergeant Major had real life issues come up, and he said that he was going to have to drop out of the campaign for an indefinite period of time, and so he left, and the other players continued to run the Sergeant Major for him, but eventually in one of the encounters the Sergeant Major died, and so rather than having him resurrected, since the owning player was not with them, they decided to just bury him and move on. And so by now, pretty much a year of real life time had passed, and the original player had contacted me and said that his real life situation, had stabilized again, and he was ready to rejoin the campaign. So unfortunately, the Sergeant Major was gone, but Gorbadoc was still running around out there somewhere. And so he and I concocted the scenario by which Gorbadoc would rejoin the party, and the other players did not know it was coming. They all found out about it as it played out here in the game. So when he was about to be hauled off to prison, Niobe and Aramis both pleaded with the rulers of Valuna and Furiandi and spoke on his behalf and said that he used to be one of their companions fighting against the temple. And they said that if Gorbadoc was released into their custody, that they would vouch for his good behavior. And Varys, the elf there, said that he would personally take responsibility for Gor's behavior if they would release him to the party. And so Hazen and King Belvoir agreed, but they warned that Gorb at least had to stop with his street preaching about being a god. And so they agreed to that, and so Gorb was turned over to the party. So here is the updated composition of the adventuring group, and you can see that Gorbadoc is 7th level as well, and in order to keep things even, I just decided that during the time that Gor was off running around doing his street preaching thing, that he had enough adventures and so forth on his own that he would have acquired enough experience to be 7th level along with the other characters. So that's what you see here. So after the wedding, there was, of course, a banquet, and that's what's depicted here. And you can see the two rulers there seated on the left-hand side, and then on either side of them are various characters. They received seats of honor next to the rulers, and unfortunately, Gorb already couldn't help himself and began roaming around the banquet hall and generally being a nuisance. And he's pointed out there on the right hand side here. He probably told the piano player there to play Freebird or something. And then on the left hand side, you can see Varys is up looking for Gorb, trying to keep him under control so that neither one of them get in trouble. After the banquet, the rulers asked the characters to meet them privately, and so that's what you see here. And in addition to the two rulers, there's also a old man named Curzalin, who is a powerful mage and also the chief advisor to King Belvoir. So Hazen explained that he had just recently received a report from the Bishop of Valorish, which is a diocese of Valuna, pointed out here on the map. And the report said that refugees were starting to arrive in the city from villages located on the furthest edge of Valuna's southern frontier. And the general area is marked here on this map. And these refugees all told the same tale, that giants had raided their settlements, and the lucky ones who survived the attacks were forced to flee for their lives. And with winter coming on, they had no choice but to travel to Lorish to try to find help there. And I don't think I'd pointed out the calendar for a while, but by the time the characters defeated the temple and then took a month to travel here, it was around the beginning of what would be the equivalent of November for us. So yeah, winter was coming on, and now you had these refugees streaming into the city of Lorish. So Hazen and Belvoir asked the PCs to travel from Mitric to Lorish, both pointed out there on the map, and meet with the bishop there and learn as much as they could from him, and if possible, track down and defeat these raiding giants. And King Belvoir went on to say that if the characters succeeded in putting an end to these giant raids, that he would create a new barony in Furiondi and give it to the characters to rule. And you can see on this map here, it's quite a big area, so there's plenty of room for something like that. So of course the characters accepted the mission and said that they would depart for Lorish the very next morning. And Curzalin gave to them a crystal ball, which he said they would be able to use to contact him and report their findings while they're off looking into this problem. And so with that, the characters took leave of the two rulers and prepared for their mission to track down and punish the giants for their depredations. Alright, well that's all I have for now. Thanks again for watching. Again, if you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to leave comments, share the video, anything you can do to help support the channel. I appreciate it. Thanks again. Bye for now.
The greatest adventure is what lies